Yo, this is a motherfucker who needs no introduction. You are watching Breaking Records Radio.
Alright, so you are now tuned in to Breaking Records Radio. My name is Alex, and I have here with me one of hip-hop's true pioneers. As one-third of Whodini, the man has toured the globe and has affected hip-hop culture in a major way. 4 platinum albums, Billboard charting singles, countless awards and accolades. Whodini was and has been at the forefront of hip-hop culture for decades. As a solo artist, our guest has been active in carving out his own path in recent years, both as a DJ and as a recording artist, with his most recent single alongside Abu Velour, titled Time for a New Rap Style, out now. Please welcome to the show, Grandmaster Dee. What's good, my man?
How y'all doing, man? Thank you for the love, man. Appreciate you.
Man, of course. I said this at the beginning of the call, but I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to speak to me here today, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So last time we ended up speaking, it was on the eve of Whodini being honored by the Museum of African American Music, and I know unfortunately they chose not to include you in that roster, but since we last spoke, of course, the hip-hop community has been mourning and kind of shaken by the tragic loss of the MC Ecstasy. How are you holding up this week? Because I know this is a pretty big week for you.
It's hard. It's hard, you know, when you be around somebody and you toured together the world, and, you know, relationship close to 40 years, it hurts. It's like a marriage, and it hurts. And, you know, and it's so sudden, you know. Nobody ain't expecting something like this to happen, especially at such a young age, you know. And I'm just taking it day by day.
100%. Were you guys able to reconcile everything before he ended up passing?
Well, I spoke to X a little while ago, and we was all right. Told him to keep in touch with me, I'll keep in touch with you.
Gotcha. That's good to hear, because like I said, last time we ended up speaking, I know there were some hard feelings, and you were rightfully upset because you weren't being included within that conversation of Whodini, and it felt like your legacy was being kind of ripped away in some way. But at the same time, you want Whodini to end up succeeding, you want Whodini to get recognition, but you want you to be a part of that history as well. What ended up happening with the Museum of African American Music and that honoring? Did you end up getting recognition at the end, or?
No, I really never knew about it until somebody told me that it was coming up, and they was like, they didn't want me a part of it, and I'm like, yo, my thing is you can't rewrite history. I was there.
Yeah, 100%.
I put my work in too, just like somebody else did. I would never do that. I don't care if we're not speaking or what. You bring everybody in the group. You don't single nobody out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the history is fairly evident, right? It doesn't take a whole lot of research or anything in order to see your inclusion in the group. You take a look at the album covers, and there's 3 people involved in almost every photo, and you're one of them, right?
Yes, and you know what? It's like day in and day out. You're on tour, and we're on tour for so many years. Come on, why you don't leave one person out, you know, no matter what you're going through. I mean, like, you look at the Temptations when they had the little problem, everybody was there. David Ruffin showed up. Everybody showed up for the awards.
Yeah,
100%. You can get honored, all 3, or if you're the Temptation or the 4 Tops, you can get honored, but you might not be on the same page together, but everybody get their award and everybody go home about their business.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I want to talk about some history and kind of detail some of the kind of early beginnings of the group, especially with Whodini and the name being so relevant today. How did you guys originally end up coming together?
Well, back in, I think it was close to 80, I met Jahlil at the radio station WHBI through Mr. Magic. And I used to call in every Thursday when he would come on at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he would shout my name out every time I would call every Thursday. And I knew they had a big concert coming up at the Armory in Harlem, and they had all Sugar Hill acts. Everybody who was signed on Sugar Hill was on that bill. So, you know, that was the time me wanting to be part of hip-hop. So I was calling in, and Mr. Magic said, well, come on down if you want to help us promote this. And I went down there, and they gave me some flyers and everything, and I met Jahlil there. He was like an intern for Mr. Magic, answering the phones. And we exchanged numbers. And he said, by the way, we were looking for a DJ. And I said, okay. So we exchanged numbers, and I invited them to my house that next week. And they came down and watched me at my house, and they saw me spin. And then they said, yo, you good. Definitely, let's get together. And that's how we came about.
Was there ever a conversation about you going on to that Sugar Hill roster? Just because in those early days, they had Funky 4+1. They obviously had like Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, and the message was released on Sugar Hill. It just felt like everyone that was kind of doing hip-hop music in the very early 80s, before Def Jam became a thing, Sugar Hill was kind of the place. However, if you look at Whodini's records, it's jive, right? Like Magic Swan came out in 1982, and yeah, in the very early stages of rap recordings, jive, you guys were kind of the first hip-hop act to really break out of jive.
Yes, that's right. And at that time, the single wasn't out yet. Jahlil was just doing the internship, but they offered Mr. Magic a record deal, and Mr. Magic passed it on to Jahlil. And plus, they had a demo that they made for Mr. Magic, and it was off the record SWAT. Yeah, and off the record SWAT. And right after that, that's when they offered Magic that deal, and he passed it to Jahlil, and Jahlil started to record. And he added Ecstasy.
Gotcha. Did you guys have a relationship with Sylvia Robinson and the people at Sugar Hill?
No. Jahlil knew them. I didn't really know them. Jahlil knew them.
Fair enough. I want to talk about some of the new records that you have coming out, because over the last few years I've seen that you've started to, I guess, explore more as a solo artist, not just in recording material, but also DJing as well. After all these years, what's I guess driving you in order to still put out some of this new material? I was just listening to the new single today, Time for a New Rap Style, the remix there, and again, for those listening at home, that's out now. It's with Abu Velour, and it's fantastic. It's such a throwback jam, but at the same time, it has that kind of new charismatic energy. I love the song, but what's kept you making a lot of these new material or new records over the years?
I really feel it's, like you said, it's time for a new rap style. But I always felt, as long as we breathe and as long as we got ideas, you should be able to put a record out. And I really feel it's time. And I had a lot of ideas that I never pulled out the bag, and I felt now I want to put it out. And Velour, Abu Velour came to me, and he contacted me on the phone, and he had an idea. And he shared it with me, and I said, yo, man, that's hot. That's hot. Let's do it. Let's do it. And we put it together, and God's willing, man, it just came out good. And we ready for the rest to come to follow.
So is this single from a full-length album or EP, or anyways, a full-length project between you and Abu Velour?
No, it's just a single that we just dropped, but we got an album coming soon. We're going to do like an EP first, but we wanted to drop a single. We was like, yo, let's drop it. Let's drop it.
Gotcha. Are you involved in the entirety of that project, of that full-length project?
Yeah, just what it was. Velour came with the idea, and what happened is we reached out to a good friend of ours, Mark Boogie Brown, and he created to play it live, and put it together. But the next few tracks that's coming, I'm definitely involved with that. But this one, I'm just behind a little bit, directing it a little something.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love this song. It has a kind of a live recording atmosphere feel to the song, but I think it's a great touch. It kind of, it's a throwback to that reminiscence of the kind of the jams in the park days anyhow, and it feels very impromptu and kind of freestyle oriented, and it's live, and but it's colorful and vibrant at the same time, right? But it does have this kind of live quality to it. It doesn't sound super polished, and a lot of people I could see disliking that quality, but I think it really fits the type of vibe that the song is going for. Was that intentional? intentional for the record to have it sound like a live recording?
Yes, yeah, we did it like that, and we said, yo, let's just roll with it. But the other thing I feel that felt good too, the chop, the little scratch chop that I was dropping in there, that felt on top of it, and you know, the beginning with the little horn, and it like brought me back to the old school back in the day. But I feel that it's coming back to hip hop again, original, and that's what it reminds me of. Like you said, a park jam. But it reminds you, if you're here in the club and you got that bass rumble, it's going to go.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. Is the rest of the album kind of layered in the same way in terms of the sound sonically? Is that what we can expect from the rest of the record?
I really feel we're going to have messages in our music, and the lyrics are going to be what you can really relate to. And I really feel that right now we just want to be on time with it and make it fun again. Hip hop was fun when it first started. You know, we did it for free and it turned into money. We didn't know it was going to be people going to be getting paid, and now we're getting paid for it. So let's give the people what they want: good music and good lyrics.
100%. I know this new single is what's currently being promoted and talked about right now, and I do want to focus on that and get people at home to listen to that, and we'll definitely be playing it on the radio show as well. How are you working on new material outside of the projects with Abu Velour? Are you working on any kind of solo material or material with other MCs?
No, later on, I got other MCs. I got an MC out of Sacramento, California. I got another MC out of Minnesota. But right now, I'm focusing on me and Abu Velour. I want to get some more under our belt, and then I could venture and bring other groups in. But we still going to be a great team with what we're putting out. We just really testing the market, but know we got something going, and it feels like a good thing.
Gotcha. What about Whodini Records? Is there any unreleased Whodini records that may end up coming to light, especially after Ecstasy's passing? I could see some labels being interested anyways in putting out unreleased material and recordings. Is any of that existing or around?
I got stuff that I had for years, but it was released already. And the latest stuff was what Jermaine Dupri did with us. And we had a lot of great songs on those albums. You know, and but I'll start playing them. You know, I'm going to do a live set next week, and I'm going to do something special for the group.
I feel like a lot of those kind of later Whodini projects that you guys ended up putting together ended up being fairly underrated. I know the first couple, like the self-titled album and whatnot, those are very highly celebrated and revered, and a lot of people know them, and I think most notably because of the singles that are on there, Let It Be Friends or Freaks Come Out at Night, etc. But some of the later records, I feel like, are some of your most well-crafted, but very much overlooked. Why do you feel that is? And do you agree that that's the case?
Yeah, you know, we had a lot of great songs, you know, but I guess what happened was when the radio forces to play singles like Friends, like you said, and 5 Minutes of Funk, and the Freaks Come Out at Night, they concentrate mainly on those songs. They didn't go deeper into the album because we had some great songs. We had some real great songs. And then after a while, when it got late in the game, they would maybe play a single on Be Yourself we did with Millie Jackson. They would focus on that, and then they would like get out of it, you know, and that's it. This is what the song they felt. But back when we first started, you know, everybody would flood the market with, you know, nobody was making albums back then. But Whodini and Run D.M.C, a lot of other MCs was all making singles, you know. So we used to see how many singles we can get off an album, because that's why we always wanted to make a great album so they can pull any single off, you know?
Yeah, and even the singles that you guys ended up putting out, they weren't really structured in a lot of ways for radio play, yet that's what ended up happening, right? You look at some of these songs and they end up being 11, 12-minute songs, but they were edited down to be consumed for the radio. What was the original, I guess, intention? Did you think that some of these records would end up getting radio play when you first ended up getting signed to Jive and putting some of these records down on wax? Because they do have unconventional time lengths at the very least.
Yeah, but what we were doing was we wanted to be different, and we wanted to bring R&B to the hip hop. you know. And plus, back then, it was no sampling. Larry Smith was one of the greatest producers of all time, and he never got the credit he deserved. And Larry, to show you how incredible he was, he made Run D.M.C. sound like Run D.M.C., and he made Whodini sound like Whodini. So anytime we was in the studio with Larry, he said, we're not coming out of here unless we got a hit. And he wanted that whole album to be a hit.
Gotcha. Man, some of the material that you guys ended up putting out, though, is absolutely legendary. Not only just for hip-hop culture, but music history is just in general, and black music history, African-American music history in general. I feel like you guys really ended up cementing your legacy over the years, and just single after single, album after album, and just being at the forefront of hip-hop culture and being really kind of early pioneers. So kudos to you, shout-outs to you, and everyone else involved in the making of those records. You guys have changed a lot of people's lives, and for that we're thankful.
Yeah, thank you, man. Really appreciate it, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be that household name, and we wanted to be different than everybody else, because back in the days when the rappers was rapping on songs, they would rap about themselves. So we was giving you titles like Friends, how many of us have them, One Love, Freaks Come Out at Night, and we had good choruses, you know, in the song.
Great courses, great beats, and it was just coming out of that disco era, and you could feel it, right? It felt disco, but it felt hip hop, and it primarily it felt hip hop, but it had those disco roots, and I feel like a lot of people identified with that at the time. It was a lot different than what you were getting from people like Run DMC and Beastie Boys and LL Cool J. It was a lot different. It was more party kind of oriented and club oriented, but not to water down the content in any real way, right? If people think of club rap or party rap nowadays, and they think of people like LMFAO and a lot of music that maybe people find meaningless, or maybe diehard hip hop heads kind of find meaningless to some degree. Whodini it still had content, still had a message, and still had meaning, yet was still bumping for a club and for the dance floor. So it was, some of the greatest records to come out of the 80s, 100%. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, thank you very much. And all it was, you got to give Jahlil a lot of credit, because he was the creator of writing those songs, you know. And he came up with great concepts, and he really put his pen to work.
So the new record that you have coming out with Abu Velour, are you able to tell us the title or the release date, or what kind of, when can we expect this generally?
Now. Yeah, it's out right now on all platforms.
The single, so Time for a New Rap Style, but you said that there was going to be a full-length album associated with that cut as well. Do we have any more information regarding that full length?
Yeah, we're going to do an EP. We're going to do an EP. So we got the single out now, and it's on all platforms, Amazon, iTunes, is you know.
Can we expect the EP the first quarter of 2021 then, or are you looking for a summer release? Or
yes. It should be the spring. We're going to do this real quick.
Gotcha.
You know?
Do we have a title or anything for the new album or new EP?
Not yet.
Gotcha.
No, not yet.
Again, man, I said this at the beginning of the call, but I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to speak to us here today. I appreciate it. Where can people find you, and where can people stay up to date with the current music that's coming out, social media-wise?
They can see me on Grandmaster Dee on Instagram, and Drew GMD Carter on Facebook, and Grandmaster Dee on Twitter.
Perfect. Man, again, I can't thank you enough. I would love to have you back on whenever the EP is released. I'd love to have possibly you and Abu come on the show and kind of talk over the EP and break it down with a little bit more detail once we all get a chance to end up hearing it. But like I said, for those listening at home, Time for a New Rap Style, the remix is out now. It's a fantastic song, and I highly recommend people go check it out, and we'll definitely be playing it on the radio show as well. Man, once again, thank you so much. I'm a big fan, and it was great to be able to talk to you again. I appreciate it, and we'll definitely end up speaking again in the future.
All right, thank you, my brother, for having me. I appreciate you.
All right, peace.